Alright everyone, welcome to another TMNT Set review. We are here to talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle set. As usual, we are going to be focusing on standards and some cards here and there that might apply to like other formats. My broad view about the set is that it's a fairly low power level set. It has some interesting cards that I think would see play, but I'm not sure there are any like slam dunk staples for standards. Standards so powerful now, and we have seen this trend from the last few sets where each set has basically a strong enough core that you can build a deck around that set. You have the elementals in Lorwyn, you have allies from Avatar or Lessons. So you are able to build decks around those self-contained mechanics, but sometimes the the cards are strong enough by themselves to see play outside of those specific archetypes. So like the elementals, for example, very good cards that also see play in standalone strategies. Right, so let's get into it. First off, I have like a couple slides here where I kind of have grouped these cards together, where we have a bunch of cards that are quite good, but they are trying to support archetypes that have not been good for a while in standard, like really good, like White Winnie, and like they have a bunch of counter synergies as well. Like Leonardo is a really good one drop for a white aggressive deck, but like those types of decks have not been good, not even recently. Like for I feel like this whole rotation, they have not been very competitive. But like the cards are really good, so I'm not sure what has to change in the meta for decks like this to be viable, but I'm not sure. I think there are like a couple of the cards that can also see play in other types. For example, the Dimensional Exile is basically ossification, and that card saw a decent amount of play. I don't remember if ossification got Planeswalkers as well, but like it's a pretty solid removal spell if your deck cares about enchantments, for example, things like that. So I think this card is like really playable. Prehistoric Path is another one that's pretty sweet. It's a really nice like ninjutsu slash sneak enabler that also kind of pairs well with emptiness, where like in the late game, this like one drop can provide you with a lot of value. Maybe if you're playing like pixie style deck as well. So like that's kind of nice. Like it's pretty sad to me that a card like Leonardo is just like maybe not gonna see play, because it's so sweet that it's just like a 7 alliance that you can sneak in on like on turn 5 to anthem your team. Like it's kind of cool, but yeah, there I kind of want to mention Leonardo here, the rare one. I also hate this. There's like a million cards with the same name, but here we are. Like Leonardo is a Janus Pride mate with lifelink. That means that it's a really potent combination of abilities to have one single creature. Um, this combos with Ballista and Cauldron if you're thinking about modern. So it is like a self-contained Heliod maybe. This card is also pretty nice if you're playing like a life gain deck, because it is the enabler and the payoff in the same card, so that could be good. But again, people have tried to make the deck work, and I doubt that this is what puts the deck over the top. But like having a piece that's like it's gaining life and paying you off for gaining life in the same card is pretty potent. So who knows, maybe. Um, I kinda wanna shout out a card that I think is good enough to see play outside of like a white wing archetype, which is the Kunoichi. Um, it is a brutal Qatar variant, but if you sneak this in, you actually just kill their creature. You exile it, which is kind of sweet. Um, it allows you to like basically lock your opponents out of the game if they're playing like if you're playing like a creature um, mirror, quote unquote, and yeah, like say you're playing a deck like Pixie, for example, where you can just sneak this in, kill your guy, pick it up, attack with the Pixie, sneak this in, kill your guy, play another Pixie, and so on and so forth. So like that's kind of cool. Like the Pixie deck used to be like the deck with inevitability in the formats, right? But things have progressed so far beyond what that kind of deck can do. That's I'm not sure if this is something that's gonna be relevant, but yeah, I think this card is pretty good by itself. Moving on, here I put some cards as well that I think that kind of fall in that category of cards that are trying to support like white winnie slash counter synergies. Like these cards are kind of good, but I don't see them seeing play in the current environment. Um, yeah, standard was smaller. Decks were not as powerful as they are. Um, yeah, but maybe I'm always like a sucker for this type of like synergy based aggro decks, but I always try to make them work. I'm gonna try again, but I don't have high hopes for the old counters synergies. Uh, Speaking of having hopes for things, I think that this is kind of nice. Um, when I saw Brilliance Unleashed, I kind of got excited because this is basically a refurbish that can also kill a creature. Very importantly, you can do both effects, so this impacts the board right away in a like big way. And I kind of went like, okay, so we have this like pretty sweet reanimation spell. Are there other reanimation spells so we can have synergy? And then I remembered the Resi, which is Goblin Welder kind of effect that we have in standards. And okay, so we have two reanimation spells. What are we trying to bring back? We have I think that there might be more, but these were the ones I found on like a cursory search. We have the battle chip, which is like gonna whip the board, which is pretty good. We also have the Thunderhook. Thunderhook is kind of nice because the brilliance turns the artifact you're returning into a creature if it's not a creature. Um, so like you can return the Thunderhook for 6, which is okay. It's pretty good. Uh, if you also reanimate the battleship, it's gonna be a creature as well, so you can like attack right away the next turn. It's like nothing. You also have the new cards, Krung. which is pretty good. Like you're just gonna reanimate like this pretty hard to deal with body, which has lifelink and gives your other artifact creatures all of its keywords as well. So I was when I saw this card, I was thinking about how it compared to something like Valgavoth, and I think it's better if you're if you have other artifact creatures in your deck as like a reanimation target. I don't think we're going to see this replacing Valgavoth in the usual reanimator decks that people try to play with Zombify and stuff. So yeah, this is kind of cool. Like if you can maybe be some kind of weird simulacrum synthesizer deck, then you're bringing this into play. You have cheap artifacts to sacrifice to the ready. You're gonna be hasting your constructs. This could be something worth exploring because it is a totally new archetype and is also doing something powerful in theory. So yeah, like a reanimation type strategy that's trying to do something unfair. You're gonna have like a fair plan with synthesizer if you go to that route, which is kinda cool. Something you'll be exploring in the next few weeks. We also have some new cards for the Rakdos Monument deck that has been making some waves. The deck has failed to perform in higher level events. Speaking from experience, I think the deck's a bit inconsistent. Sometimes you don't find monuments. Sometimes you don't find like a way to discard, like the blood, like the flail or the elf. And the new set brings us some new tools for consistency. Casey Jones is like a really good card advantage to 3-drop. I think he's way better than Thursa. First, he has 4 power, so it brings back your phoenixes. It's pretty crazy if you draw this like on turn 6, for example, because you're just gonna be like 3 mana for 3 draw 3 cards. It's gonna fill you back up pretty hard. You also have, I think, more importantly, Cool But Rude. This card is functionally another copy of Monument, so you start having some redundancy. We were here mainly looking for the level 2. Level 3 can come up, but it's probably something that's like, a bonus, I think. But like now we can talk because we have redundancy in our effects. It's also nice that Cool But Rude is a bit slower, but it like enables itself with something that Monument doesn't do. So yeah, it's also an enchantment which is harder to remove because like some decks play a braid and things like that. So it's nice. I think this deck gets a nice boost. I also put the 2 mana Casey Jones here. That's something you can try to play in the deck. Not sure we are going to have enough artifacts in the end, but this card kind of reminds me of Ingenious Smith, which is a pretty playable card. And if you have enough artifacts in the deck, I think this could be a good 2-drop to help you find them. Okay, so here is a bit more speculative deck, which I think I'm gonna try, which is Ninjas. This set kinda allows you to build a deck where Kaito's emblem is a pretty real thing, because for the first time ever you can build your deck full of ninjas. And it's pretty crazy when like you can just have something that stacks up emblems out of nowhere. Like having all your creatures have permanent +2/+2 is no joke. So when comparing this to the previous Kaito deck, which is Blue Black Mid Range, I will try to build this way more aggressively, especially because that's what we want to do with Kaito. And also we have a pretty good Lord. I think this is a pretty great direction for Lords to go. Uh, so like the usual formula for Lords is just like a bear that gives like the tribe +1/+1. But Splinter is a 1/3, which is much better. It's harder to kill, and sometimes it's also gonna cost one with the sneak. So this is gonna be sometimes acting as a combat trick as well. I didn't think about how we will be filling the deck out. So like maybe you still play Spyglass Siren, maybe you play Flipped Drowner even though they are not ninjas. Maybe you can play Mockingbird. I didn't get that far in deck building, but I think that I like the idea of like having Kaito emblem be actually like super strong in my deck. That's something that I think I think is powerful. So it's enough of a draw for me to give this archetype a try. And you also like not playing like you're not playing bad cards to like try to enable this. Like Dark Leo is fine. Is also like gonna play like a nice combat trick, honestly. So like you push with your board, they block onto the bigger creatures because they don't wanna give you um, a lot of like unblocked creatures for Kaito or for Sneak, and then you putting Dark Leo and Shredder like through a flyer or something, and then like all of a sudden your small ninjas are killing their big guys. You're making more ninjas, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I think this is probably gonna be either better than it looks. Like it's at least gonna be an okay deck, but it has the potential to be like really good because if this plays out in the way I'm thinking of, like you're not gonna fall into the pitfalls that the mid range sometimes falls in, where you're not very fast at closing the game, and this is gonna play much more like a deck like Spirits from Pioneer, where you're way more aggressive and like more tempo-y in the way of your plays. Even though even today, I feel like the mirror is a deck that doesn't close very fast. Mostly because like your creatures are like very small and your Kaito only buffs itself. So yeah, I was not looking into ninjas the first time I was like making the slideshow, but the more I thought about it, I think I am a believer, at least for now. Also shout out to like Leonardo's technique. I think this card is pretty cool. It's gonna bring the deck together, giving you a lot of redundancy. Also kind of working really nice with Satoru here to give you more draws. Moving on, I have put here some cards that I think are kind of generic but playable. Tolka and Razar are like this card kind of punishes some things. It punishes Warp, it punishes Evoke, um, it punishes like cost reduction, so, like, and it's like staple onto 3/2 body with menace, so like it can be countered as well. So like if you end up in a spot where we are playing a black red deck that's kind of aggressive, let's think about the monument deck. I think this card could be either on your main deck or at least in your sideboard, because like you're interested in dealing damage to your opponent, and like this deals 3 damage, so it's not trivial. So if you play this on turn 2 and you get a hit him and it triggers once, I think like 2 mana for 6 damage is pretty good. I can't think about any deck right now where this would just like kill your opponent, because the deck that reduces costs the most is Lessons, and they have a bunch of removal spells. But like yeah, if this six is gonna kill them, but I'm more looking at this as um, like a lava X style card where you're gonna play your 2 drop, you're gonna attack them maybe once, if you're lucky twice, and it's gonna trigger once when they kill it, and I think that's a pretty good deal. Um, this card is like way narrower than something like Eidolon the Great Rebel, but in turn it's a pretty good creature. Like Eidolon for the most part was like pretty bad as a like the body as a bear. You relied on the ability a lot, and this one has like a relevant evasion keyword and one more power. So I think this card is okay. Uh, we also have Leatherheads. Not here we have a card that I think has all the right things to be like pretty fucking strong against lessons. Where I'm not like you have the option to either remove the hexproof counter from this to kill a monument, or like if they don't have the monuments, like how can they beat a 5/4 with trample and hexproof? Is pretty not trivial. I'm not sure they can. So like I think this is a pretty strong tool for green decks. It can be countered, so like maybe they rely more on counter spells to beat this, but like it is for mana, it's really cheap. So maybe you start seeing this alongside Surlek to have like your anti lessons package. Because, yeah, I think this is like a pretty solid card overall. If you're playing it like a cup deck, maybe like you're gonna be reaching for this pretty often. We also have Death in the Family. Uh, since rotation, I have Dearly Mist, Anointed with Afflictions in various moments in standard. I think card deck this is very playable. It's sometimes gonna be one of the best removal spells you have access to. Um, so let's say, for example, a deck like the Monument deck becomes like really good. This removal spell becomes awesome because they have the Phoenix that come back. They have Bloodghast, they have Blood Shield Elf, which is indestructible. So yeah, we have been here before. We know that this card is really good. So yeah. Um, Next we have Armagon. I put this here as a potential card to play like Reanimate. It's kind of nice if you don't want to play Bringer of the Last Gift. If you want to play Zombify with that, because that allows you to play Zombify. If you're playing like Zombify and Superior Spider-Man, and instead of Bringer you're playing this, which is functionally the same thing. Like you're gonna be killing 3 creatures, like pretty good. There's not a lot of board states in standard where they have like more than 3 creatures anyways, and you get to keep whatever you have on your side of the board. So that's cool. This card's probably playable. Next we have the Ooze. This card is like pretty solid graveyard hate, much like Ghost Vacuum. But it creates mutagen tokens. So like the way I say this, like you're playing creature deck, you play this. You're not playing creature deck, you play Vacuum because it's cheaper. But like I think this card is like really good. It also has this like basically the Oscillate stacks where it is preserving the counters on creatures that leaves it just in a different manner. Uh, so that's kind of nice. Like it is kind of strong that you have this card that makes artifacts on command for free, basically. So that's also something that a deck could be trying to exploit. Maybe we play this in our Dareti deck, for example, because it's gonna create fodder for Dareti, and Graveyard Hate is usually useful in the metagame, But yeah, I think this card is pretty potent, at least as a sideboard card. It gives you a lot for your graveyard hate, which is nice. Makes your creatures bigger, gives you free artifacts. So that I think that's probably one of the best overall cards in the set. And as a last bonus card, we have Skateboard. I think this compares pretty favorably into no, like speaking about modern and legacy maybe. This speaks pretty favorably into Lava Spur Boots as your Urza Saga targets, because tapping a blocker is pretty good. It's probably better than Ward 1, honestly. And also, if they have Trinisphere in play, this taps the Trinisphere and it turns it off, which is a pretty good card against Affinity. So if you're playing against Tron and they put Trinisphere into play, like heavily restricting your development, you can get this, turn the Trinisphere off for a turn and go off or something like that, which is not nothing. Like it is a niche card for now. Sometimes Trinisphere is popular, but I think that like tapping a blocker is pretty good. Usually if you're leaning into a more aggressive stance with Urza Saga, I think you're gonna be playing this in general. Like a deck like Hammer Time is gonna enjoy this quite a bit. It's not like Hammer Time is playable right now, but you catch my drift. And yeah, this was the review for Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles for standards. A pretty short review overall. I think there's not a lot in the sets. I tried to dig deep into everything that I thought had potential to be explored, but as I said before, I don't think there's necessarily a super strong core to this set like the previous sets had, where you're gonna be building a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles deck. But there is some stuff here I think that could be good. Yeah, so in the next few weeks I'm gonna be testing the new cards, and if you have any feedback or if you want to talk about anything discussed in the video, hit me up in the Discord, and see you next time. Adios.